Welcome my friend, Seven Gray here. Thank you for joining me for yet another episode in this series on passive income for nomads. I want to talk about two concepts today. One is ROI, return on investment, and the other is dealing with risk versus the payoff or reward. So both of those concepts are interrelated, and so I think they're important to cover before we get into the exact how-tos of real estate investment for rental properties. So we're looking at passive income sources, but these principles apply to a wide variety of things. Very, very common in stocks. One of the ratings is the ROI, the return on investment. That's one of the primary things that people look for when they invest in something, is what kind of return can I get back? So your return on your investment is how much do you get back for how much you put in. So let's say you invest $100 in something, buying a stock for example. How much are you going to get over the next year? There are various kinds of stocks, obviously. The riskier ones usually pay back higher. The low risk ones have a lower payback. Well, the same is true with passive income investments that you might be making. The one benefit that I believe is a plus with real estate is it's sort of a dual income type thing versus, let's say, stocks. When you invest in a stock, you may buy, I don't know, 10 shares of Apple stock for X given price. Let's say it's $1,000 or something. I have no idea how much Apple stock is going for these days, but that stock will appreciate or go up and decrease in value, go up and down in value, and that's how you determine whether you're making money or losing money. Is when you sell that stock, you're selling it for higher than you purchased for, or you're selling it for lower and you're taking a loss. So that's your return on investment. One of my rental properties, for example, I purchased for $39,000. It was a bank foreclosure property. I put about $8,000 into it. So I've got, say, $47,000 total into them. I bought that 5 years ago. Today, that property on Zillow.com, which is just a generic reference point, it's not the most accurate website in the world. I've had a real estate license here in Florida for several years, so I am familiar with how to do comps, comparisons of different properties of like value to come up with that number. So let's just say Zillow is a good ballpark. It's showing that property as being worth about $125,000 now. So I started out with $39,000 into it. I put about $8,000 improvements, total of $47,000 in. 5 years later, that property is worth $125,000. So you can do the math. See, that's a significant increase in value if I were to sell it. But while it's increasing in value, I have this property being rented out. This property rents for $920 a month, and here next month it's going up to $950 a month. So every single month, that's my income. Also, I don't have a mortgage on this property, so all of that money is coming in. Not only am I getting the rental income each month, but the property continues to appreciate and increase in value. So that's one of the benefits, I think, with investing in real estate, is you've got that increase in value while you're getting your rent. Now, that isn't a guarantee all the time. Your return on investment ratio, that number, that percentage will be much, much higher if you buy low and then you sell high, or buy low and then continue to rent out your property and let it appreciate in value. Now, I purchased this property in 2014, and in this particular area that I chose to buy in Florida, properties were in foreclosure everywhere. The market was flooded with hundreds and hundreds of foreclosed bank properties, and nobody could qualify to buy these if they lived here locally. So they were being snapped up by real estate investors from out of state like myself. So everybody was down here trying to buy up these properties while they were inexpensive, and then 5 years later, the property value has gone up and up and up and up. So what is that? Maybe 2.5 times increase in value. So return on investment is a principle that you want to keep in mind when you choose a location to buy your property, when you're buying your property, and if you're choosing to flip the property, get into it, hold on to it for a certain amount of time, and then get out of it. I think the best formula is if you buy low and just hold on to that property. It increases in value, and you're capturing the rent on something that you purchased at a low cost. So next time a depression comes around, a recession, something like that, a bubble pops in the market, then there's a lot of foreclosed properties. Those are areas to go look at to buy properties. Some types of properties are higher ROI than others. I prefer something sort of in the middle ground. Example, one property type that might be a higher return on investment as far as rent would go would be buying a mobile home. Mobile homes have a very low entry point, so let's say for $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 you can buy a mobile home and rent it out for $500, $600, $700 a month, depending on where you are in the country. If you invest $100,000 in a single family unit, just a standard home, let's say what they call a 3-1 or a 3-2, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, that's real estate terminology, then that's sort of that sweet point, at least for real estate investment, because you're attracting families that are going to try to be a little bit more responsible. They have to nurture and care for kids. They may be less into partying, although you do have kids that may be doing more damage to the property, but you have adults typically supervising or looking over them. So the type of tenant that you attract may be related to the type of property you have. If you were to, say, buy a McMansion, say pay $700,000 or $900,000, you may only be able to rent that for $2,000 or $2,500 a month. And so that ratio of the dollars you invest versus the income that you get back is going to be a lower percentage than, say, a mobile home, where you get a higher payback for the number of dollars you put in. So sort of in the middle is the 3-1 or 3-2, and you get a more durable house that withstands, say, storms as well as possible tenant damage. So that's probably the ideal. But if you're starting out, you don't have a boatload of cash, you're really struggling to break in and get into real estate, the typical advice is to go out and borrow from friends, use some money on credit cards, buy your first mobile home and get it rented, get an income stream, and then when you get enough equity into that, then you can use it to get a loan to be able to buy another mobile home, and then you start building these up, and you may get 10 of these, and then once you get 10, then you can sell off a chunk of those, and then you can get your small, say, 2-bedroom house or something like that, and you just keep financing these things, and you build this sort of pyramid of cards, house of cards if you will, and start working your way up. So there's many books about how to go about doing that. I didn't feel comfortable with that particular structure, so I went in and paid cash and bought these houses outright. Most of you will not be that fortunate and be able to go in. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I sold a house inside of a real estate bubble, and I managed to get out at the right time. So right at that 2008 crash, sold my house right before it, high sale value, and then everything crashed, and then I was able to buy when the market was low. Most of you probably won't have that opportunity, but if you're lucky, who knows, that might happen for you. Anyway, that's all I have for this episode. Those are a couple of concepts for you to think about: ROI, return on investment, as well as risks when you're involved in buying something and how to minimize some of those risks. I really love real estate because you've got a tangible property there, an actual asset which is increasing in value. Even if you get out of it and sell it, usually you're going to break even or even make a profit just on the sale. So that's sort of built into the property itself, and then as a bonus you get all the rent that comes in during that time, the 2, 3, 4, 5 years that you hold onto the property or longer. I think it is a win-win situation. That's why I love it, and that's why I wanted to share this kind of passive income source with you. Thank you so much for watching. Savor the moment, and I'll see you in the next episode.